Hi, my name is Howard Adler. I'm a filmmaker and artist, and I live in Ottawa, Ontario, and my favorite color is maroon. Yeah, I think I've always kind of had an interest in video and media arts. I remember in high school I took an integrated media class, and that was basically with like, I don't know, I think the cameras were shot on like tape, VHS maybe even, and so we had tripods and we had these cameras and we ran around making little videos, and it was so much fun. And I remember my first editing experience was actually on, I don't know what it was, but it was this big machine, and it had like a tape went in this slot, and a tape went in that slot, and you mark in on one tape and dub it onto the other tape, and then find your next clip and so on. And it was so old-fashioned. Even at that time, it was the 90s. It wasn't so, but it was like a 10-year-old machine, so we were working on very old equipment. And so that was my first taste of like editing. So I made a film called Status, and basically it's about the Indian status card system in Canada. I wanted to look at the idea of status cards and the race-based classification system as a form of surveillance and a form of tracking people's like blood quantum intergenerationally for purposes of like eliminating their identity.
We forget that also our people enfranchised so they can go work outside of their community. So that's why my dad's family, they enfranchise so they can go work outside of the reserve and own their own homes and everything, because before that they couldn't own their own home, or if they left the reserve to go to work, they would lose their status anyways.
My mother lost her status when my grandmother, when she was like 16 or 17, when her mother, my grandmother, remarried a non-native person.
If you're a status Indian and you marry a non-status Indian, you can pass that status on to your children, but it's really dependent upon who they marry. And if they marry a non-Indian person, then the status ends with them. It's not passed on. But then there's also these anomalies that occur where you have a status Indian who is reinstated as a 6.2 under the Indian Act, and when they marry a 6.1, that child becomes full status 6.1. So it's a numbers game.
I think the film turned out really powerful. Like they got a very clear criticism of the status card system in Canada. It was very clear, and I think that resonated with people. So a lot of the feedback was really positive. But I mean, I did write a blog to go along with the film that CBC put online, and so that, I mean, if you get anything talking about Indigenous issues, I mean, you're gonna get all that, like the trolls commenting, and so there's all that the darker side of things. But generally, people that have seen it have responded positively and said that they learned something from the film. So that just makes me happy. I've started a film festival called Sinabka Film and Media Arts Festival. The way that happened was, I guess me and some friends were back in 2012 hanging out, and we started thinking, like, how come there isn't an Indigenous film festival in Ottawa? One thing led to another, and the next thing I knew, me and my friends were writing grants and planning a festival. So our first festival was in 2012, and then we did one every year since then. So 2015 marks our 4th annual festival, so it's pretty exciting. So my current project is a film called An Object with Spirit, and that is a documentary film about the Indian Residential School Marker Project. 5 artists were selected to come together and design a marker to commemorate the legacy of residential schools in Canada. And that was like a huge task for these artists to meet only for 1 week and to get to know each other and to come up with an object that would encompass this huge history. So it was just an amazing documentary to make, because the stories are amazing. The history, the artists themselves were such amazing, amazing people. I think the object that they did make is amazing. It's very stunning. I just see the arts community here is thriving, and there's so many amazing filmmakers, and I think it's just a hub of activity. And there's also some amazing festivals in town. There's Inside Out, there's One World Film Festival, there's some film challenges, there's the Animation Festival, there's like the 24-hour film challenge and the Sparta challenge. There's a lot of things happening, and there's so many things to get involved with. So I really do see Ottawa as like a really thriving place for filmmakers and video artists.